Hey guys, what is going on? It is xckj here today, bringing to you guys a Paladins tier list. Today we are going to be ranking every single champion for the Shadows update right now, and we're not going to be going through any builds or anything like that. I'm just going to be ranking them all. If you guys do want to see builds, you can look on the channel specifically for those champions. I have every champion in the game and a build for them on there. So if you really need a build, you can look for that, and hopefully soon in the next upcoming weeks, and probably over the next 2 weeks, I'll be having a build for the top 3 champions of every role. So don't worry about that. You'll be getting it soon. But for right now, we're just gonna be ranking every single champion for the Shadows update. Also, guys, before we do jump into the video, I just wanted to let you guys know that the memberships are now available as of today, guys. So for just 99 cents a month, you guys can be supporting me and my ability to just be able to continue doing this kind of stuff. And it's just 99 cents a month. It's not much that I'm asking for, but seriously, if a fraction of you guys are able to do that and support me in that way, it would completely be life changing to me. So thank you so much for even considering it. And let's jump in to the tier list. Starting with Androxus. Androxus is going to be our first champion here, and I think I'm going to be putting him just right in the S tier. He did receive nerfs this patch, with his ammo being reduced from 8 to 6, but even with the reduced in one of the cards put him from 6 to 8 ammo. They got rid of that card, so you can't have that anymore. With this even still happening, he still does a ton of damage. He still has a great ultimate ability. He still is just a really good flank. Any hit scan flank overall is just going to be really good. I think he's hitting for what, like 900 damage headshots at full damage. So, I mean, just absolutely insane. Moving on to Ashe. Ashe is going to be a C tier off tank right now. I would put her in B tier. Just the reason I am putting her in C tier right now is I think that there are better off tanks than her, and there's no reason to ever ban her. You can play her, it's not a throw pick. That's why she's not F tier. But, and I don't even know why there's an E tier here. Let's delete that. Alright, so she's not F tier, and she's playable. She is playable, but she's not as good as some of the other off tanks. Her ultimate ability is good. The fact that she can apply Cauterize so well is great. She has knockback. She has her shoulder bash, but I don't know. I love her. I love Ashe so much, but I just really think that there are better off tanks than her right now in the game. So moving on, we have Atlas. Atlas is going to be another off tank that I'm going to be I'm going to put him in A tier actually. And the reason why I'm putting him in A tier is because he is just a really strong off tank. His wall is just one of the best shields in the game. It really absorbs everything. Nothing can go through it at all. And I mean, that alone makes him strong. I've typically been playing the Big Shield talent. I'm Stasis Field. No. Yeah, Stasis Field. I'm trying to think of what it's called right now. But anyway, not to mention, ultimate ability is pretty good, especially when used well. You can use it to make instantly like a 3v5 or a 2v5 if you're able to hit people quickly. Or you're even able to just use it, freeze one person that's out of place, and the entire team can look at them and just get an easy kill on them. Plus, you can cancel it, get a percentage back, so you can just use it on one person. It doesn't feel like a waste. So that is why I am putting him in A tier. Also, just really quickly, the fact that he can reset his health bar is kind of nutty. That's kind of like a Makoa ultimate just built into his base kit. So pretty strong right there. Moving on to Barrack. He is going to be a high A tier, not S tier, almost. He has no CC in his kit, though, which kind of hurts him a little bit. He's a really great point tank, but Terminus is also in the game right now, and Terminus with Bulldozer 3 just makes him feel terrible. With that being said, though, I do think Barrack is definitely playable. I seem to play him, have high damage numbers on him every time I play him. Not to mention he's pretty easy to play. You just got to put turrets down, dash around, have shields, and there's a lot of different builds you can play with him too, and they're all pretty viable. So I think just with the flexibility that he has and all that, I'm definitely putting him in A tier. Not to mention against a lot, just the fact that he has shields, and I don't know, he seems to work out very well, seems to do a lot of damage. He has great sustain on the point. He is a good point tank, that's for sure. He's definitely a good point tank. Moving on to Bomb King. Bomb King is going to be sitting in B tier, kind of like he has been. He's kind of even with Ashe, to be honest, but he's good. He takes some skill to play. I don't see a lot of people play him. His ultimate ability is amazing, though. Like, he has one of the funnest, strongest ults in the game. The fact that he can hit squishies and just instant kill them, and then they also stuns on top of the fact that it deals like what 2,000 damage or something like that. On top of that fact, it's stunned, so he gets out of it and then can just put a sticky bomb on them and blow it up, and then yeah, he's got that going for him. His Poppy Bomb's great if you figure out how to use it. He's a good champion. Plus, he's one of the only damage champions that has a stun in his base kit. I'm trying to think if there's even any other. Don't think. I don't think there's anybody else with the stun that's a damage champion in their base kit. So that alone just makes him really strong. Just the fact that, hey, you can get some CC from a damage. Awesome. Very, very cool. Moving on to Buck. I'm going to be putting Buck in B tier as well. Just because his ult is meh. You got to know how to use it well. He is able to do a lot of damage. But with that being said, there are just better options than him right now. And because there's better options, he's going to be in B tier. His recovery is pretty strong. His recovery talent. And the fact that, he's got to jump in. Sometimes he doesn't have a jump out. He's a very divey champion, and sometimes you can get punished for that. So I'm going to be putting him in B tier. He's not insane right now or anything like that. Moving on to Cassie. Cassie is just another one of those champions that Oh, shoot, man. Do we want her in B or A tier? Man, that's rough. You know what? Let's put her in B tier. Man. Oh, no, not S tier. I'm going to put her in low A tier. Reason being, I really think she's super versatile. She actually is not that great into Yagarath. I thought she was going to be much better into Yag. I played a big game against a Yag, and it was like, meh. It was pretty good, but it wasn't crazy good, I think there's better options to counter a Yagarath than Cassie. With that being said, though, Burst Cassie is very, very strong. Exaction Cassie is very, very strong. Blast Shot Cassie and Exaction Cassie. Both very, very strong. She's able to do a lot of damage. A little bit harder to play than, say, a Leon. But with that being said, she has very high potential. Not to mention, I really enjoy her ult. I think it's great for team fights. One of the better ults for team fights, except for like the obvious like Furia and Grok and champions like that. But as far as damages go, she probably has one of the better team fight ultimates. So that's just pretty cool. Moving on to Corvus. Corvus is going to be right now. I'm just going to put him in low B tier. He's good, but there's just better healers than him right now, personally, I think. He doesn't have any hard CC, like stuns or anything like that in his base kit, because most of the time you're playing splitting influence or spreading influence talent. He can heal a lot of people at once, which is awesome. Very cool. His ult is good. It's a great zoning tool. He can do really well, just like everybody else in B tier. And honestly, you know what? It kind of makes me want to move Ashe into B tier, just because of the other champions I'm seeing there. But honestly, I just think compared to the other healers right now, Corvus is a B tier healer. Better than some, not as good as others. So I'm going to be putting him here. Moving on to Dredge. Dredge is going to be just another C tier champion. I mean, Scuttle Dredge is easy to get around, especially with the fact that a lot of people are using a lot of mobility right now. And you can play Hurl Dredge, but it's meh. It's kind of a little bit iffy. It could be good on Ice Mines, but that's kind of it. You can get good at Dredge. Oh, that's the thing about Paladins. Any of these champions you can just get really, really good at and just do well on. But anyway, I think Dredge is practically just a C tier champion right now. His ult is good. He is good, but like most other people, there's better options. Moving on to Drogos. Drogos is going to be a D tier. I'm not a fan of him right now. He is a counter to Yagarath, which is awesome. But other than that, he really doesn't do a lot, and he dies to a lot of the top tier champions right now. When you have Hitscan in S tier and in A tier, Drogos is trash. What is he supposed to do? He's just going to fly around, get killed by auto aim lady, and just freaking die. Like, he can't do anything about it. His ult is good, and that's pretty much it. That's all he's got going for him. He can fly. He can't even fly that well anymore now that Wormjits has gotten a nerf. So, yeah, that's where I'm going to have him right now. Moving on to Evie. Evie is going to be, you know what? We're going to put her also in C tier. The only reason being is that in order to be good on Evie, you kind of got to have a lot of game time on Evie. Evie has the potential to be an S tier and the potential to be an F tier depending on who's playing her. So we're going to just shove her right in the middle. She can even be like a high C tier, you know. But oh, there we go. She can even be a high C tier, you know. But just the fact that it takes a lot of skill to play her, and most of the people who pick her up are just going to be feeding on her. They're not going to have a lot of damage. They might have an okay-ish amount of kills, but it does take just a little bit of knowing how to position well, knowing how to do all this kind of stuff, because she does have like no health at all. Like somebody looks at her, sneezes on her, and she's dead. So that is why I'm going to put her in C tier. Her ult is great though for dealing with like Saris and a lot of these other champions that are pretty meta that I see a lot of people playing. Especially, you know, you jump on top of a Grok, you ult him, he can't ghost walk away, you just kind of shoot him. She can do a lot of really cool stuff. So don't discount her at all. If you want to play her, you're a flank man and you really love playing Evie. Like I said, she has the potential to be S tier. You just have to put time into her. Unlike with a champion like Andro, where it's easy to pick up. You have your dashes, you have hit scan, pretty straightforward. You have a reversal. You don't have to figure out that much. He's pretty straightforward. Moving on to Fernando. Fernando is going to be a low. I'm going to put him in low A tier. His shield is amazing. Just playing the shield reset build on Fernando is awesome. The fact that he's just able, I think it's like on a 2 or 3 second cooldown or something, and you just keep it up forever. And just, it's hard to break his shield. It's very big. He's able to sustain on the points a lot. This is for point tank Nando, by the way. I was not a super fan of point tank Nando for a while, and people kind of just kept on playing him, telling me, no, you gotta try it out, you gotta try it out, you gotta try it out. Tried it out, and I was like, this is actually pretty good. I think this is going to be something I'm doing a video on soon, because I don't think I have a point tank Nando video on the channel. This is something, though, that will lose. Like, if you see a point tank Nando, you can 100% play Bomb King into this by Wrecker, and Bomb King will just shred through the shields. Great pick to play into it. But with that being said, he does lose to champions like Khan, who can just grab him out of his shield and just make it go away. Kind of sucks there. Rom and stuff like that does beat Fernando, so just be a little bit careful about that kind of stuff. But other than that, like, you're fine against Makoa. He's a good point tank. He has a great ult, especially when it's used well. He can just stay alive. So I think I'm putting him in A tier. Moving on to Furia. I'm going to be putting her in so close. And again, this is talking about Exterminate Furia, as I feel like that is kind of the meta option to be playing with her right now. I'm going to be putting her in C tier, just because when you're playing her, you are playing a second healer. It does work, but a lot of times it doesn't seem to work out super well. If you are just playing like some weird thing where, you know, you're playing beam heals on a Yag or something like that, completely different than this. But her ultimate ability is so good. But then again, you're playing Exterminate Furia as one of your main damages, and like, yeah, you have a little bit extra heals and stuff like that, but it isn't the greatest. It can be really, really good. Don't get me wrong, can be good, but I'm going to be putting it in C tier right now, as I think the one benefit of it really is that you are getting a great ultimate for team fights out of it. Moving on to Grok, I'm going to be putting Grok in A tier. He's almost S tier. I think he's really good. I've been playing him a lot more in my games lately. If he just doesn't get banned like instantly, the 30% movement speed is insane. It's incredible. His ultimate ability is awesome. He has a lot of potential for a lot of healing, and the buffs just really helped him out a lot. If you do focus the totems, that is a useful counter to him. Plus, he's got the Ghost Walk. Plus, he just... oh, man. You can use the totems on yourself to heal yourself. You can use it on... it's awesome. He's really cool. He's a lot of fun to play right now. I'm going to be putting him in A tier. He's not S tier just because I feel like he can be countered, and I'm saving S tier for the champions that I feel like are super, super strong right now. But as you see, the A tier is actually getting pretty full of champions right now. But anyway, where are we going to be putting Grok? In A tier. Moving on to Grover, another A tier champion. I think a lot of A tier champions right now. Grover is super strong, able to root. His root talent is amazing. Like that's what people should be playing. The fact that he gets like every 3 seconds or something like that, he can throw out a root is crazy. His ultimate ability is really good, just able to instant heal the tanks, anybody that needs any healing, and now he can cancel it to get like 20% back. Let's be honest, you usually get like 20-15% back when you cancel it. Being able to do that allows you to get your ult even more. The only thing I think he's kind of lacking on is range, and I'm going to do a video on this because Verdant Expanse does not increase your range hardly at all. It literally does nothing. So you could put 5 points into it, and now you just wasted 5 points, and you're going to have your heal less just to get like 2 inches of expanse on it. So it's like not worth it at all. But with that being said, that is where he's lacking. I still think that he's really good and just able to help the team snowball a lot. Grover Healer is one of those champions that probably works out good with a secondary healer, but I still am going to be putting him in A tier because he can solo heal really well, and I think he's pretty strong. So moving on, we have Amani. Amani is going to be just another B tier. Like, her ultimate ability is great, forces people to have to buy Bulldozer or just run for their lives when you activate it, or somebody has to find Amani and kill her. And also, I mean, she's a great sniper. She's got a stun. Oh, she is somebody. Well, she doesn't even have a stun. She has a root in her base kit, which is awesome. Very cool. She has her pillar fire, which just is the craziest thing. The siphon fire is so freaking strong, guys. So strong. Just the fact she just hits that thing. She's beaming people down, hitting squishy. She flies, right clicks, just murders people. But anyway, moving on. I am putting her in B tier. Moving on, we have Inara. Inara is going to be, you know what? I'm not going to say she's as good as Barrack right now. She's going to be in high B tier. She can be right below Barrack because I will pick Barrack over Inara pretty much 9 times out of 10. The reason being basically is just people are playing Tremors with her right now. Tremors, I'm not a huge fan of Tremors. It kind of just loses when people buy Dozer and just shoot the flowers. So then you end up playing Mother's Grace because then at least it can't be countered. But now it's only like a 10% extra damage reduction. It's still super strong and gives you, like, the healer gets a lot of healing when you are playing Inara. She does have a stun in her base kit. She's really strong. I just don't like playing her as much as I like playing Barrack. You can be putting Inara in A tier. That's fine. Like, I don't know. Like, it's not a super crazy discrepancy there whether she's B or A tier, but I am picking Barrack over her. She's got a great ultimate. I mean, that's one thing that she really has going for her. And she does seem to do a decent job against playing against like Terminus and stuff like that, just because she does have the flower which slows him down, so she can kind of make some space, and that way he can't just hit her with the axe. And also she has a stun to stop the siphon. So that's why I'm going to be putting her in B tier. She is a great point tank. Don't get me wrong at all. As far as IO right now, IO is kind of one of those champions, man. I'm gonna be putting her in D tier just because the dog kind of doesn't do what the dog used to do. It's kind of just a stun bot now, and like her heals are pretty good. She gives damage reduction, but they're not great compared to other people. And Lifelink IO is just not the best. So you gotta play the damage reduction one, and then the damage reduction one is like, you can only heal one person at a time. And well, while it is good heals, I'm not a crazy fan of IO right now. And don't get me wrong, I love playing IO. Just as far as meta goes, I'm like, it's not the craziest thing in the world. But with that being said, you can play her well. She's kind of the same spot that Drogo's is in. Like, Drogo's, there's not many times that you could play Drogo's. Like, well, why play Drogo's when you could play all these other champions? Same thing. Why play IO when you can play all these other champions? You're like, oh, she has a stun. Yeah, so does, like, Damba, and Grover's got a root, and freaking half the healers in the games have got some sort of CC in them. So, like, you're gonna have to do better than that, you know what I mean? Moving on, we have Jenos. Jenos is just going to be one of these healers. I actually personally still think that he's a pretty good healer, but I'm going to be putting him in, I'm going to say like a C tier spot. He's about equal to Furia. I've been seeing a lot of people kind of just using him as as a secondary healer, and I think that's a decent spot for him, to be honest. His ultimate can be good if you hit people. He can lift people, which is pretty good. It makes him a sitting target. They seem to get a lot of picks. Like, you can get a lot of picks that way, especially if you're playing into like a ROM, or let's say you're playing into an Andrew. You wait for all the dashes to go, you lift him up, and then the team just murders him. The fact that he can heal so many people at once, at the same time, and give a damage buff at the same time, he does make your flanks and damages just 1v1 monsters. If you have a heal on the flank and they are 1v1ing, even if the other guy is getting pocketed too, that extra damage buff plus those passive heals just coming in, they will just murder. So Jenos does still have a spot, don't get me wrong. If you solo heal with Jenos, I don't think you're throwing. But with that being said, you know, Grok, Grover, there's other champions in the game to heal with, and people who we haven't talked about yet, so not the greatest. Moving on to Khan. Khan is going to be in another S tier spot. Reason being is he can instantly, at the start of fights, take one person out of the game, just chuck them off the map, and boom, right there, 4v5, right off the bat. Khan's just really good. He gives this passive, just continuous damage into the fight. Not to mention he counters people like Terminus, he counters people like Nando, which are two champions that you have a harder time countering with his commander's grab. He's really good. Plus his battle shout can be pretty good if timed correctly when attacking, like, let's say a Xin comes in to hit you, you can battle shout and then avoid a lot of the damage that way. So Khan is going to be an S tier champion. Moving on to Canessa. Canessa is going to be just another B tier champion. Middle of the road, pretty just average champion, not too crazy. I'm putting her in B tier basically because you can pick her. That's great. You don't have to ban her ever. She's never like, she can sometimes be like, wow, this Nessa is out of control, but it's never like, shoot, man, somebody needs to freaking, I cannot, nobody can kill this Nessa, what is going on? You know what I mean? Her ult is like, man, it's good, you know, you could play her well, and you could do really good on her, or you could, yeah, she's just B tier, middle of the road champion. Moving on to Koga. Koga is just going to be another D tier champion, man. Not a huge fan of Koga right now. He seems to be just a little bit weak. He doesn't have anything going for him, really. He seems to kind of just not do damage up to the same par as other flankers. He has a very high time to kill, and I mean, I'm just not a super fan of him right now. His Dragon Fangs build is okay, but personally, not a fan of Koga. Not a super fan of Koga, so I'm going to be putting him in the D tier. Moving on to Lex. Lex is interesting because he is a noob stomper. Like, in low elos, man, he is crushing it. But as far as once you get into, like, platinum and higher and stuff, and you just have people that have a little bit more experience, I mean, he's not doing anything too crazy. I'm going to be putting him in B tier. Just the reason for that is that he can be countered. He doesn't have any vertical mobility, but he can still absolutely destroy. He has an auto aim, and he just is kind of spammy. Like, spammy champions are good because it doesn't matter if you miss a couple of your shots. You're just spamming shots out. You hit your right click, you confirm a kill, and then you just dash around and slide all over the place. I was recently versing a damage reduction on Slide Lex, and it was pretty strong. I want to try out the build. But yeah, I think Lex is a pretty average, low B tier champion. Moving on to Leon. Leon is going to be, I want to put her almost in S tier just because I've been seeing a lot of really good, what is it, Alacrity? Which one's the one where she dashes and hits a ton of stuff? But I'm going to just put her in a high A tier right now. She is nuts, guys. Like, the amount of damage she does and the fact that it's auto-aim damage is crazy. Yes, sure, she does have her left click, but it still is hit scan, so it's not even that hard to hit. And, I mean, she's great. She's good. I don't know how else to say it, really. She's good if she gets flanked. She can really give the flanks a run for their money just because of all of her auto-aim abilities, and plus her ultimate mixed into that makes her a 1v1 beast. And so, yeah, you get, like, an Andro flanks her, and she has an equal chance of killing the Andro, even if the Andro got behind her or something. She literally just flicks around, dashes, right-clicks, Qs, ults, and kills people, and they have no chance to react at all. So, yeah, she's A tier. She's just absolutely incredible. I think that she's really cool to play right now. And also, she's easier to play than Cassie. So they kind of fill the same role, but at the same time, not really, because Leon's just easier to play and kind of does a little bit more damage overall. So moving on to Maeve. Maeve's just going to be a low C tier. Like, just why? I mean, Street Justice is like meh. Cat Burglar is pretty good, I guess, but Rogue's Gambit's like not even worth playing at all. She kind of is, I don't know, she seems so weird. On paper, she should be good. Like, she can fly, she does 800, right? 800 damage for if she hits both of her autos, and she can, yeah, she just has got a good ult, but when executed, I mean, she's squishy. Just other champions do it better, I guess. I don't know. I'm just putting her in C tier. I think that's where she belongs. Again, she's kind of like Evie. You can do well on her, you can do bad on her, but I'm just gonna be putting her in C tier, kind of in the same spot. I think she's like same spot as Evie, basically. Her and Evie always together on the in the meta. Although at least Evie has some CC in her kit, so she can actually like not let a Saris get away. But I don't know. So maybe she's below Evie. Yeah, that's probably what it is. It's probably the fact that she has no CC in her kit and she's not hit scan, which makes it kind of annoying. Moving on to Makoa. Makoa is going to be just a B tier champion. He's got hooks, which are incredible, but you never really see him get banned just because, like, the hooks are what he's got going for him. I was actually watching an old video of mine recently, and I realized Makoa used to do like 650 damage per shot, and now he's down to like 400. And yes, he does have an extra shot, but even still, like, I mean, I don't know. I'm just gonna put him in B tier just because his ult is great, and his shield is pretty good. If you're playing like half shell or pluck or whatever, well, if you're playing half shell, his shield's great. But if you're playing pluck, he does a little bit of damage. But I mean, I don't know. I'm just putting him in B tier. He is a great off tank. Don't get me wrong, but I think that there are just better off tanks to play. But he still is one of the higher options. Like, as far as other off tanks go, I'd say he's like one of the better ones, probably. But I'm still gonna be putting him in B tier just because compared to all the other champions in the game, he's very meh right now. Moving on to Maldamba. Maldamba is gonna be an S tier healer. I think he just is through the roof in his heals right now. His gourd is amazing. Great for just being able to be like, hey, this area right here, I'm gonna heal everybody that's in it, and so like you're in a room or something like that, you throw it in the room. You got a cross map heal with your right click as long as you have line of sight. It gives a burst of movement speed if you have that card. Plus, on top of that, he has a stun in his base kit with his reload, and he has a fear in his kit with his ultimate, which just can save him out of so many different things. Not to mention, his slither makes him like refresh all the effects that he has on him. He's awesome. He's so fun to play. He's really just can do crazy amounts of heals. He's not the easiest healer in the game, but he definitely has the highest potential to just do crazy things. So I am definitely putting him in S tier. Moving on to Moji. Moji is going to be I'm gonna just put her in D tier. Honestly, just being the reason of like she seems very similar to Lex, but Lex kind of does what she does a little bit better, if that makes sense. With her, she's got the dash, she just deals damage from vertical, and she just is supposed to be everywhere at once, kind of. That whole ordeal. But Lex seems to do it better because he has all that movement speed and stuff. Moji can be good, but if you want to make her good, I feel like you have to be playing against people that don't really know how to play against her. People who shoot into her Q or whatever, the magic barrier. People shoot into her magic barrier, and even when you cookie people, sometimes you don't even end up guaranteeing the kill. So it's like it's very up in the air. That's why I'm just gonna be putting her into D tier. Moving on to Pip. Pip is just gonna be a C tier champion. Not much to say about him, honestly, other than the fact that his heals are meh, his damage is meh. You can play him as a healer, you can play him as damage. Like, his ult is pretty good. His ult can be game changing. That's probably the best part about him, to be honest, right now. His slow doesn't feel that impactful. So, yeah, his ult is what he's got going for him. People buy Rezil, and then the only thing that he's got going for him, the rest of him is just like, man, I don't really do that much anymore. So, he was at one point good. Now I kind of feel like he's just been slowly falling as other champions have been getting better and better, Moving on to Rom. Rom gets countered pretty easy. I'm going to be just putting him middle of the tier off tanks. Like, he gets countered easy, but he does some pretty dope stuff. He can be super pushy. But now Yag is in the game, so like Yag kind of does what Rom does better, if that makes sense. Where, you kind of just dash around and you're like, hey, pay attention to me. I'm dealing all this damage, and before you know it, it's really hurting you a lot. Yag does the exact same thing, just a little bit better. So basically, I'm just putting him in B tier. He does have an awesome ult, breaks shields, and does a lot of cool stuff. So he's a good pick into like Fernando and Barrack and stuff like that if you are gonna pick him because you need a counter for one of those two champions. But with that being said, I'm just putting him in B tier because yeah, I just think he belongs in B tier. It's kind of easy to counter him, just stun him, and he also feeds ults. Like he feeds ults like crazy, man. People get ults so much whenever a Rom's in game. Kind of annoys me, honestly. Moving on to Ruckus. Ruckus is gonna be a C tier. Ruckus can be really good. Ruckus can be really bad. It really depends on the play style that you have going on with him and who is on the other team. He's super divey, and he does good when the enemy team has people that really can't escape. So let's say you're playing into like a Viktor, a Tyra, something like that. Maybe for the healers, they're playing like a Ying or somebody that doesn't have CC, and you just like, boom, get right on top of them, just dash on top, hit your rockets, hit all your stuff, pop your ult, and they're just like, they're trying to get away and they really can't. But once they can just like make some space between you, Ruckus kind of feels not super great anymore. He feels good when he's like right on top, able to make a lot of pressure and get away with making a lot of pressure. Moving on to Saris. Saris is going to be definitely a high A tier champion. The reason being, she is a freaking heal bot, man. Sure, the rest of her kit's kind of bland. Her ult is pretty good as long as it doesn't get blocked by his shield, but bro, her healing output is insane. She just sits there, right click, right click, right click, right click, right click, heal, heal, heal. She can heal for so much. My brother sent me a game that he was playing with one of his buddies who's newer to the game and did like 400,000 healing on Saris because he just was doing nothing except for just sitting there and healing tanks, and just the game lasted long. And I mean, you can't out heal a Saris. That just is heal botting, standing in the back line, and not dying. You will not beat a Saris. If the Saris is getting like flanked and stuff like that, maybe they'll put down the healing numbers a little bit. But with that being said, definitely think that she is an A tier champion. Moving on to Shaolin. Shaolin is going to be, we'll just put him in C tier. Run of the line, run of the mill sniper. Doesn't do all that much, really, other than the fact that he's a sniper, but he's not even hit scan sniper. His invisibility is pretty good. I like him, but he kind of seems like a worse Cassie, to be honest. That's personally how I feel whenever I play him. I'm like, man, I should have just been playing Cassie, to be completely honest. His ult is like not great for team fights or anything like that. I mean, he can do cool stuff with it, but I'm just going to be putting him in C tier. Moving on to Skye. As you guys actually know, recently I'm 8-1 right now in ranked on Skye, just because people for some reason just don't know how to deal with the healer Skye. The amount of sustain that she gives, the amount of like, you're not healing other people. You're just throwing that shroud on the ground and just using it for yourself, and you get crazy sustain. Kind of just dance around it. The poison bolts are crazy. It works out pretty well. I'm gonna be throwing her in B tier, honestly. And I know it's kind of crazy. Like she should be like D tier, C tier, but I'm 8-1 on her, and I don't know why. Like it just is working. I can't explain it, and that's for solo queue, by the way. So I can't explain it. Don't know why it's working, but it is, and I'm gonna keep on playing it while it's working. And because of that, man, she is going in B tier for now. Her ult can be a great zoning tool if used correctly, and she forces the entire rest of the team to buy Illuminate, so pretty cool there. Strix, man, Strix. What are you doing to me, brother? I'm gonna put him in F tier, honestly. I love Strix, and I've got decent aim on snipers, but Strix is nerfed so bad right now. It takes so long between every shot in order to like shoot your second shot. Let's say that there's a Furia standing out in the middle of in the open, right? And I'm playing on Timbermills. I hit that first shot on Furia. By the time I rack my gun for the second shot, she's behind cover 100%, because it takes so long to get that second shot off. There is no way. He's like almost just a secures kills. Like, you have to be having an off tank going nuts in order to do anything on Strix, because he just has to last hit people. He can't kill people. It's not possible. His fire rate is just way too low. So that's why I'm putting him in F tier, just because I literally think he's unplayable right now. Moving on to Talis. Talis is just going to be another B tier flank. I mean, there's a lot of B tier flanks right now, to be honest. Honestly, he might even be C tier, to be completely honest. His ult is pretty good, demounts everybody in the beginning of the round. But other than that, I mean, he does decent damage. You kind of just play him as like a backline damage, honestly, a close backline damage, and then every once in a blue moon, you just try to make some space or try to do a crazy flank and get the healer or something like that. So I'm gonna be putting him in a B tier just because he does do a lot of damage. He does definitely do a lot of damage. Moving on to Terminus. Terminus is going to be our S tier tank. Definitely. Terminus is just insane. The Siphon is crazy. He does a lot of damage. He is a complete counter to Barrack. Super hard counter to Barrack. The reason why Barrack is an A tier, honestly. I see Terminus get banned a ton just because he is so strong. And yeah, Siphon just absorbs a lot. I'm personally playing Decimation on him, but Crush and the Unyielding build are both pretty good. But yeah, I mean, he's good. I don't know really what else to say. You just buy Nimble, Dozer, and you're set on him, really. Tiberius is going to be another S tier champion right here. His ultimate ability, great for getting out of sticky situations. He does a lot of damage. Exploding Blade is crazy. He presses Q, which is like, and then gets so fast attack speed. It's just crazy. He can do a lot of crazy stuff right now. So he's definitely gonna be our S tier damage for today. And he seems to have been S tier for a while now, man. His his like crouching Tigron is a pretty good repositioning tool. It's not super great of getting out of, like, let's say you get flanked or something like that, but I mean, he's just he's a good champion. Enough said right there, to be honest. Torvald is going to be just another D tier off tank. Like, nothing too great about him. Nullify is a pretty good ability. His ult is pretty great, but his shielding is kind of pretty low. It doesn't even really absorb a full shot of anything, so you know, it's nothing crazy. It could give some movement speed, could give some ammo. Is there a potential for him to rise up from D tier this meta? Yeah, there is a possibility for it, I definitely think, but for right now, he's going to be D tier, just because he just doesn't do all that much, and he can't play super aggressive. I'm definitely excited for the rework that they said is coming on him, just because, I mean, he seems to be like S tier one patch, D tier the next, and no rhyme or reason why, to be honest. Moving on to Tyra. Tyra's going to be an A tier damage, just because she's Tyra. She's got her firebomb. She has a crazy damage reduction in her base kit, and I mean, it's crazy. She does a lot of really good stuff, and she seems to deal a lot of damage. Honestly, like, her ult can be pretty good if used correctly. It's a little bit hard to like use it and actually get a lot of value out of it, but when you do use it and get a lot of value out of it, it works out really good. Plus her firebomb's crazy. Plus she just does crazy burst damage with her rocket launcher, so she's going to be A tier. Moving on to Viktor. Viktor's just going to be another B tier champion. I mean, Burst Fire Viktor seems to be pretty good. I was playing him on Splitstone Quarry. Got some pretty great damage numbers on him. He gets his ult really fast. His ult is good. It's good also when comboed with like a stun or something like that. Plus, if you are versing into like the A tier Tyra or something like that, I mean, you instant kill her if you can catch her out of position with your ult. Like, you catch her in a good spot, you pop your ult, she can't get out of it. You just drop your ult on her and kill her. So that, and then also, I mean, he doinks for a lot of damage, man. You get 3 headshots, it does a lot of damage. So that's why I'm going to be putting him in B tier. Moving on to Vivian. Vivian is just going to be another B tier champion, honestly. Her ult, it's good for some damage boost. Honestly, you know what? I'm going to put her in C tier. She's not as good as Viktor is, and she kind of fills the same role as him. She just does some passive damage. If you have a good spot to stand and they aren't flanking you, she does great. Once you start dying with her and you don't get to keep your ultimate up, like, once you get, if you can get your ult, like, you know, you still have your ult up and your next ult is ready to go, boom, you are in a great spot. But once you're like not able to get your ult going, really, she kind of doesn't feel super great. Not to mention, she got a huge nerf on that damage buff that she gets when shooting her gun continuously. So that's why I'm going to be putting her in C tier. Moving on to Willow. Willow is going to be another just F tier champion. Man, Willow is just not great at all right now. She seems to just die really easy to like a lot of the flanks, a lot of the damages. Anybody pushes her and she dies. She really doesn't have that great of an escape. Plus, with all these like hit scan champions that are doing so well right now, she kind of seems to not do anything that good. The only good ability she has is her dead zone. Other than that, she's not great at all. I'm going to be putting her in F tier. She's basically like Strix, just kind of a little bit unplayable right now, to be honest. Moving on to Ying. Ying is going to be just a C tier healer. She's good. She has no CC. That's the problem. We're in a CC meta right now, and she has no CC, and most of the crowd control in the game does end up coming from the healer. So when your healer has no crowd control, you have to have it on like 2 of your tanks or something like that, just because Ying doesn't have it. Her ult is great, and her potential to give out a ton of healing is there, but I mean, there's no reason to play her when like Damba's open or something, you know what I mean? So that's why I'm putting her in C tier. Moving on to Xin. Honestly, Yomi Xin is pretty strong right now. That's what I've been playing. The extra 150 damage doesn't hurt anything with the guillotine nerfs also. I'm just going to be putting him in B tier. Still is annoying to deal with, but not S tier like he was. You can't just ult and then get an instant kill anymore, especially not if the healer's paying attention. Just pop one heal on the guy and he doesn't get killed. So basically, yeah, Yomi's what it's going to be, and I'm putting him in B tier. Slippery, does decent damage, and his ult is still a thing, so I mean, it's not terrible. Moving on to Vora. Vora is going to be an A tier. I really like her a lot. She's my favorite flank right now, but she's not hit scan, which kind of sucks a little bit, which makes Andrew a little bit better than her, but her mobility is crazy. Just the fact that she is so slippery. Everybody always complains whenever there's good Vora on the enemy team. She's able to get on top of those healers, silence them, so that way they can't get away. Like, silencing a Saris so she can't get away and then killing her, oh, feels so good, man. Plus, her ult is awesome. Once you figure out how to use it and you get a good ult with her, feels super, super good. So that is why I'm putting Vora in A tier. Also, her, I forget what it's called, but that one where she, like, jumps in the air, hits the ground, you know what I'm talking about? It's awesome that she could dodge, like, ROM ult and stuff like that just by using that, because she's damage immune. Very cool. Like it a lot. Moving on to Yag. Yag is going to be an A tier off tank, and the reason why I'm putting him in off tier, yes, he has counters. Do people ever play those counters whenever they play against a Yag? Not really, to be honest. Yag is one of those champions where it's like, hey man, you better pay attention to me because I'm about to screw up your entire world right now. And yeah, like I said, you can have counters to Yag. Doesn't mean people are going to play him, especially when you're last picking Yag. Really great. Really like her a lot. I think her ult can be awesome. She has like 2 health bars. She just does good stuff, and she's easy to play. So I'm putting her in lower A tier for sure. Moving on to Octavia. Octavia is just going to be another low B tier champion. She has the potential to do a lot of damage, but with that being said, I think Leon, Tyra, Vora, Tiberius, Cassie, all these champions that we're talking about currently right now kind of just deal more damage than her. Plus, with that being said, like, her ult with the talent that makes her ult stun is really good, but other than that, her ult kind of just like causes a little bit of chaos. I do think her Shroud is probably the best ability that she has, and probably the reason why people are playing her. That is what kind of makes her a little bit better than B tier, is her Shroud. The fact that it can go on top of anybody, kind of just blocks line of sight. I really like it a lot. Octavia is definitely good, and guys, anybody that is in B tier is 100% playable, and C tier. C tier and B tier are both playable champions, just not as good as the A and S tier. D tiers are the only ones that I think, like, yeah, they kind of suck. So just make sure to keep that in mind as you're looking at all this. So I don't think Vora is like unplayable or anything. I just think she's not as good as other damages, which I think is fair. And last but not least, we will include Vatu, even though he is not in he's not in ranked yet. And I am going to be putting him, I think for now, he's going to be a solid A tier. Just while people are still learning how to play him, still learning how to play against him also is like the biggest thing. He is kind of hard to deal with when you don't know what's going on, but once you know what's going on, you're like, okay, I see what he has got, what he can do, and as long as I'm not a super squishy champion, I'm going to be able to fight him. Healers just get instant killed by him, damages get like killed so fast by him, but I'm going to be putting him in A tier. Anyway, let me know what you guys do think about this list. Thank you for sticking around for so long. Oh my gosh, this video is way longer than I thought it was going to be. So if you guys did watch this entire thing, You're nuts. I appreciate it so much, and I will see you guys in the next video. Do not forget about the memberships. Seriously, just $1 a month would impact me so much. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.